Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Around the Big Ten podcast. I am Mark Givler. Got Chip Minnick here. As always, we are continuing our schedule analysis of all 18 Big Ten schools for the 2025 football season. Getting close, people. We're getting there. The magazines are out. The video games coming out in a few weeks. The media days are starting in a few weeks. We're almost there. So, Chip. Again, we've talked about this a lot over the offseason. I tend to like the Barry Odom hire. I think that's a good fit there. But doesn't he have his work cut out for him here in year one? This is just a roster that has been completely decimated. Kind of a lack of recruiting in general over the last 3 years, but then a lot of their best players transferred out. Many of them transferred in conference. They're going to have to play some of these players, or these players will be helping other teams in the league. Let's look at this thing. I mean, this is not great.
No.
You know.
I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Mark, but no. Yeah, I mean, this is I'll just say it. This is a baptism by fire. For Barry Odom. I think he has his work cut out for him because, as you so accurately stated, losing a lot of the talented players via the transfer portal, the fact that recruiting had kind of fallen off, and let's just acknowledge the reality that Purdue only won one game last year. I mean, there's only one way to go, and that's up. But when you look at this schedule, the Big Ten schedule makers did not really do Purdue, do them any favors. I think that they start off with a couple wins in their non-conference, but then the week 3 game, you want to talk about, welcoming in USC to West Lafayette. That's tough. Going on the road to Notre Dame, who really just manhandled them last season. And then that October through mid-November stretch, it just how they're going to be, I don't want to say standing, but how they're going to be just kind of psychologically handling the, what the schedule, or excuse me, what the standings are going to look like after that October through November stretch is going to be very telling.
Yeah, you want to give them a shot against Northwestern and Rutgers, but it's they're sandwiched in there. You've got Illinois, Minnesota, probable losses. And then you've got the back end of that, which is at Michigan, Ohio State, at Washington, probable losses. And it's okay, in the middle of all of this, are they going to be able to find their footing enough to get that done? It's going to be interesting. So many new faces. Really had to go hard on the portal, still picking up guys throughout the springs because their roster was so decimated. And, you mentioned them just, winning a one game last year, and it's they had more talent. They had more top end talent last year than they'll have this year, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Very good point.
Now, the other side of that coin, though, is that they were a disaster the last couple of years, and you got to think the coaching is going to be better this year, right? Don't we at least have to, if nothing else, imagine that this coaching staff's going to have this team a little bit more well prepared week to week?
Yeah, I think, and Barry Odom, I realize this is going to come across as a shot at Purdue for the way that they were doing things the last couple of years, but Barry Odom has experience, as a head coach. And maybe this is just my naivete on this part, but I would look at this as, this is where, not only you brought in a bunch of guys in the transfer portal, but when things start to get really challenging and difficult, this is where, if I'm Barry Odom, I'm going to be finding out from the freshmen and redshirt freshmen that are on that roster who wants to play. And look at this as an opportunity for game time experience, and who do you want to build this program from the ground up with after the 2025 season. And I'm not saying that it's always going to be pretty. And I'm not saying that if you're a Purdue fan, that this is something that you should be excited about. But I think you have to go back to square one. I think you have to kind of look at what you have on the roster, what you need on the roster. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, when looking at that October through November stretch, yeah, I mean, they might be able to win the game at Northwestern on October 18th. And maybe when they bring Rutgers in on October 25th. So that might give them, a grand total of 4 wins. But if they can identify some building blocks for the future, you have to sometimes look beyond just the win and loss record.
Yeah, and that's another thing that makes it a little tough to handicap them this year is, I look back to like a little bit different circumstance, a different league, obviously, different level of football. But like when PJ Fleck took over Western Michigan, Western Michigan was a disaster. And he went out there and he like played all their freshmen and sophomores, basically. He just played all the kids and they got I think he went like 11 or 1-11 or 2-10 or something crazy his first year. He just took all their bruises. And then the next year they were solid. And then the next couple of years after that, they were really good. I think that's what Barry Odom's going to have to do. And that may cause you to lose to Ball State. You may lose that game to Ball State. Like that's not a layup. But I agree. I think, it's unfortunate because there's no draft. Like you're not tanking for a draft pick. You're not going to get rewarded in any sense outside of your own locker room for having a bad year. The only reward from that is going to be that you get enough young guys, enough experience that you're a lot better next year. And so that could factor into losing a game somewhere where you're like, man, they even lost that one too. And it's like, geez, but you have to find, like you said, you have to find out what you have. You have to start somewhere. You have to build some type of foundation here, find some foundational players. The other side of that coin is you showcase all these freshmen and you find a couple that can really play and hopefully they don't go off and transfer after the season and into what they perceive as a better situation. So there's all sorts of things that Barry Odom's got to navigate. I mentioned before, I think this is the toughest rebuild job in college football right now among the major power conferences. I think he's got his hands full. I do think he's a good hire for the job, but if you're a Purdue fan, I just think you have to be ready for some pain this year. It's just not, there's just not enough there this year to even give you that like surprise, like 6-win. No, we weren't expecting anything. We got into the whatever bowl at 6-6. I just don't see that there. And I hate to, temper expectations to that level. Like I think every program should go into a college football season thinking they can make a bowl game. But even for this team, I don't think that can be a goal. I think you really have to look at development. Does the team look prepared every week? You could lose, they could lose, I don't know. They could lose 38-0 to Notre Dame, but still look prepared. You know what I mean? It's just a talent thing at that point. It's an experience thing at that point. They could lose at home to Ohio State 42-7, but still look prepared. So I think it's just kind of an eyeball testing. How are they looking each? They look like the players know what they're doing, and they just don't have enough talent yet. That's to me going to be the thing to watch this year is how well prepared are these guys? Because last year was a joke.
Well, one of the things that I guess just kind of like playing the old man card here is that traditionally when I think of Purdue, when they've been, I don't want to say like a dominant team in the Big Ten, but kind of like that thorn in the side. And I guess I'm just kind of thinking from, Ohio State, an Ohio State fan perspective, is that usually when Purdue football has been exciting is when, and I'm just gonna a couple of the last coaches that kind of fit this were, Joe Tiller, and I realize we're going back almost 30 years. And then with Jeff Brom, like they were more offensive oriented. And again, this is not to take shots at Barry Odom, but I think, Barry Odom is, more like defensive oriented. Ryan Walters was a first-time head coach. He did a great job at Illinois. The early reports out of Washington is they're thrilled with the work he's doing there. I just think that the job and what was left behind was too much for him, and it was unfortunate. But at least Purdue recognized here, like we need to make a change right now and try to salvage for the future. Getting back to Barry Odom, he has been very active in the transfer portal, and something that you and I both agree on is, okay, let's find out what we have. And on a previous podcast, one of the things you talked about is in the month of June, like this is like a real big recruiting focus, in terms of like the camps. If I'm Purdue, not that you want to necessarily be taking shots at the players that are on the roster, but I would think from a recruiting message is that, hey, we're gonna play guys right away. So like I would think like a recruiting message could be from Barry Odom to the guys that he has verbally committed for next year, but also when they're in season, hey, to the guys that are around the country in the transfer portal, if you come here, you're going to get every opportunity to play and contribute right away. So it should be a challenging year, but I think it can be a building block type year for Barry Odom. The fans, I realize patience is a tough thing nowadays, especially when your in-state rival had a new coach come in and seemingly resurrect that program. And you think, why can't that be us? I think the circumstances are a little bit different with Indiana. The fact that Signetti brought in a bunch of players from his previous roster. I know that Barry Odom did the same thing with his team, but I think the circumstances are a little bit different for Purdue. So yeah, a tough year for Purdue, but I think it's an opportunity for them to build on for 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, to your point just a minute ago before we kind of dive a little more into the schedule, I don't think Purdue is the place for a first-time head coach.
Oh, very much agree.
Because you're not like, you look at like someone like Ryan Day at Ohio State. Ryan Day walks into a situation where he's left the keys to a very well-running car. There's not anything in the program he really has to fix. He's got built-in advantages over a lot of his opponents. None of those things are true at Purdue. It's a tough job. You need a guy with experience running a program, building a program. And I think maybe lessons learned here, like on that, because it's just been a struggle. And so I would buy Barry Odom stock, but it's going to take a couple years, in my opinion. But let's dive into the schedule here. Like, how many winnable games do you see here?
I see 4. I see Ball State. I know that you talked about the fact that, hey, that's not a gimme, but I think Ball State is an opportunity for Barry Odom to, get off on the right foot. I think Southern Illinois is another winnable game. The fact that that's at night, try and let's, put a positive spotlight night game in Ross-Ade Stadium. And then I'm not saying that they're going to get blown out by USC, but I think USC and at Notre Dame, I think those are 2 losses. And then where I see the difficulty is here's where Barry Odom's really going to see what kind of team he has is they're going to be hosting Illinois. And we've already talked about how good we think Illinois is going to be. Going on the road to Minnesota, I think is difficult. I see the next 2 winnable games at Northwestern and Rutgers. If they can win those games before the gauntlet of going on the road to the big house in Ann Arbor, bringing in Ohio State, and then going on a cross-country trip to Washington, I think if they can squeeze a couple wins in the middle of October at Northwestern against Rutgers. Now, granted, at the end of the year, I realize it's a rivalry game. Anything can possibly happen. That would be, if I was a Purdue fan, I'm circling that as my Super Bowl right there. Like, okay, let's pull out all the stops. Here's where, if there are trick plays, it's a night game on NBC. Thanksgiving weekend, but I think, best case scenario is I see 4 wins. I see, like I'm going to be leaning more towards the fact that they start off with 2 and hoping for, like I said, in the middle of October, those wins at Northwestern against Rutgers. I'd say if Barry Odom can get 5 wins out of this team, let's put him down for Big Ten Coach of the Year.
I was just going to say 5 wins should be enough for strong consideration. Obviously 6 would be just, honestly, if he wins 6, he's probably National Coach of the Year.
Should be. Absolutely should be.
Which they'll never do. They would never give a 6-6 coach that, but it would be an unbelievable job. So you think what's your best case, worst case?
Best case is 5. Best case is 5, but I'm going to say worst case is 2. And I'm hoping that, that they're able to steal one of those games, like I said, in the middle of October, regardless of whether it's at Northwestern or at home, when they have Rutgers on October 25th, that maybe gets them closer to that 4 that I think that we're probably, but I have a feeling it's going to be, 2 wins, to start off the non-conference. And then that Big Ten schedule is pretty tough.
I think you're a little more optimistic than I am. My best case scenario is 4-8, and that's basically they win all the games that they're like not massive underdogs in. They win those first 2, and they beat Northwestern, and they get Rutgers. But even Rutgers, they're going to be substantial underdogs in that game.
Yes.
Northwestern's on the road. It's just it. 4-8 to me is a fantastic season. If Barry Odom goes 4-8, that is a fantastic season given what he's inheriting. I think worst case scenario is 1-11. Now, I think again, shouldn't be a surprise with just that range. I do think 2-10, 3, and I think they're going to win 2 or 3 games. That's what I think they're going to do.
Right.
I think they're going to win 2 or 3. I think they're going to, but 1-11 is possible. Like they could very well lose to Ball State, and then you beat Southern Illinois, and that's it. That's not like totally out of the realm of possibility. There's a real chance they're going to be underdogs in their last 10 games. There's like a real chance of that. So I'm going to give Barry Odom the benefit of the doubt and say he's not going to do that and get to 2 or 3 wins. Maybe 3 would be my best guess, would be 3-9. But like I said, I think Purdue fans are going to like launch stuff at the screen or whatever watching this, but like he gets a big pat on the back for me if they go 3-9. He gets a big pat on the back for me because that means they won at least one Big Ten game. They handled their business in the home games early in the season that they should have. And it's like, what are you going to get mad at him for not beating Minnesota on the road? You're going to get mad at him for not beating Indiana, for not beating Illinois. Like, what are you going to get mad at him for with this schedule and with the rebuild he's trying to put together here? So I think 3-9, if they go 3-9 this year, I am congratulating him at the end of the year, saying, great job. Looking forward to seeing what year 2 looks like.
Absolutely. And like I said, I think this is going to be the youth movement and a lot of the transfer portal additions. And, without knowing off the top of my head in terms of, I'm just going to refer to him as like the general manager. I think there's going to be a lot of, as soon as the transfer portal window opens, a lot of calls to disaffected players around the country that Barry Odom either recruited previously or Purdue recruited previously, and basically saying kind of like the price is right, come on down, because you get an opportunity and you're going to have ample opportunity to come into an environment where we are going full bore on the youth movement. That's just my belief.
Yeah, they're going to need that scouting department's going to need to be really on it. Not only looking for guys, maybe 4 or 5-star guys who feel stuck at some of the bigger schools. You can pick off a kid or 2 from Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State that's maybe just feels like they're stuck. And then like I would even go like like FCS. Like,
Oh yeah,
there were some dudes there that, are looking to move up a level. I'd be looking to pick off some of those guys too, but they need to really invest in that. Obviously, high school recruiting is super important. Like, I'm not downplaying that, but that will come just with working at it and working hard at it. You really, really, really have to make sure you're on the ball here with your scouting stuff. So, parting thoughts? Anything, Chip?
no, just hopefully Purdue fans. I realize it's been a rough couple of years, and we're sitting here saying, okay, be patient, but I think just kind of have faith in Barry Odom, because I think it's a good hire, and let's see how the games all shake out in 2025.
Well said. I appreciate everyone. We will, again, we're doing all 18 of these. We're getting close to halfway, I think.
Yeah, getting close.
Close to halfway. So stay tuned for more of these. As we recap, or as we look ahead to the 2025 schedules of every Big Ten team. But thanks everyone again for watching and listening, and we'll be back with another one shortly.